Alright, we'll do the clap again. Alright, cool. So, how's it going?
What do you think?
I think it's going good, man.
Yeah?
You look good.
Thank you, so do you.
I've been through a bad shape, man. I had this bad fucking cold and I was spitting out film and shit, so yeah.
Lucknow, man, everyone is going through this.
Yeah.
I don't know how this changes going forward, because this is happening every year this month. And there are very good reasons for why this happens this month. It may not just really be about the pataka, the pollution. It's because of the air movement. Around this month, there is no movement in air.
Okay.
And because of no movement in air, the pollution is not really happening because of, I think, firecrackers, as much as it's happening because of the stuff that's happening in the agricultural belt of India and North.
Okay.
And the stuff they're burning. And it's got to do with a lot of that.
With a lot of factors that just come together and it's like, we're gonna fuck your lungs up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy, I was in Goa, so I land there and I get off the plane and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And then we are taking a ride off to some far ends towards the beach, and we reach there and the air is pristine. And we wake up the next morning and we're getting notifications on Instagram, like people are posting in Delhi, they can't see anything, and we're like, holy. Like, and from that day, everyone has a fear of going back,
right? Because
it looks super bad. And then on the last day when we're driving back to the airport, we're like, oh my god, how are we gonna deal with this? And then we get into the aircraft, we get off, and I just the moment I get off, I feel this thing in my throat, and I was like, bro, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And then, like, on the drive back, I'm like, nobody cares. This is like 400 ppm or something, and in other countries it would have been a declared emergency. I went up on some maps and it's showing hazardous air. Like, this is probably the only thing that'd be worse than this would be the fallout air from a nuclear destruction. That's probably the only thing after this, and we're living in that zone, and everyone is okay with it. How do you deal with something like that? So the only option is like, you see going forward, you're like, nothing is changing. Nothing is ever going to change. Nobody cares, right? So the only thing that you can see then is like, maybe I have to change. And maybe I have to go towards an environment where actually somebody cares about the local populace. Yeah. What was your thought? Like, it's like we've been seeing it like when we were kids. People used to burn a lot of firecrackers, way more than they burn now. And at that point of time, the air was pretty clean. It used to be gone. Like, people used to be like, Diwali is good because it kills insects and mosquitoes. But even those guys are resident now. It's like mosquitoes are the same. You burn coils and they don't go. They're just probably sitting on it and having a party. So, I just can you imagine, like, things are getting from bad to worse, and even though you do not, nobody burns any crackers, let's say, it's still going to happen. And it's just stupidity that we live in such toxic air. And then on top of that, these guys are like, maybe we might not have water in 2025. I'm like, come on. Oh, come on. And we house 1/3 of the population of this world, which is insane. Like, probably 1/3 might be including China and us, but that's a huge number. And people, this is what I realized when I was going through admission processes and stuff. I realized nobody wants us. They want us to stay back. Okay, probably give them our money, but they want us to stay here. They don't want us to come there. They're like, तुम लोग वहीं पे रहो, हम लोग यहाँ पे, ठीक है? यहाँ पे population बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Stuff like that. So yeah, what's your take?
I do think this is a part of natural evolution. I can't complain too much. I do not complain about this situation as much as I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time thinking about the solution, and And because I did not spend too much time complaining about this situation, I think I started looking at a solution which has very little to do with environment fundamentally as much as it has to do with the humanity fundamentally, regardless of the environment, and the fundamentals that drive the knowledge, collective knowledge of humanity. Because if we don't raise that, we try to attack this problem without raising that, if all the energy that was put together to complain about this situation was spent into understanding how can we improve the state of knowledge of the world, there may be a solution to this problem there.
So this is the same thing that happened in California with that whole tragedy of people dumping chemicals in a lake. And if one person was doing it, the next guy was like, why should I not do it? Like, everyone is doing it. So maybe I should do it too. And then everyone was dumping, and everyone was like, it's not my personal problem, it's everyone's problem. And everyone was thinking like that. And in the end, that water got so corrosive that, you know, people started dying around it at a very unprecedented rate. And then the government had to step in, and they were like, what the hell are you guys doing? And so everyone just kept on passing the ball, and they were like, it's not my problem, it's your problem, or it's that guy's problem. And then, you know, this is the fallacy of public goods, which is that it's a public domain, so it's public's problem, not my specific problem. Because if you choose not to do it, somebody else might do it. And then you'd be like, okay, I'm not doing it, why is this guy doing it? Why is this dickhead doing it? So, you know, it just devolves that whole situation until somebody steps in and puts in like huge restrictions, because this is a human fallacy, this is a human construct and constraint. That if I do it and somebody else is not doing it, then this is not a problem. And that led to California having many fires. This is the exact reason why they ended up having a lot of fires, because it's like, why should I pay for forest clearing? Why should I pay for dead wood being burnt regularly? It's everyone's problem. So therefore, this is the time when governments have to step in and be like, you know, I think this is a sanction, you're not allowed to do this, we'll enforce it. So I think it's along the lines of that. And because like I said, like if let's say there was a fine on having beards, right? 500 rupees every time you spot it in person. And then okay, you're like, okay, I'm not keeping it, but somebody else is not getting fined for having a beard. So then you would feel that kind of difference, and then you'd be like, whatever, man. Like, so yeah, something like that. This problem is super complex, and it's got to do with the animal instincts and this evolutionary thing that is set into us, that we want the best for ourselves. And so yeah, I guess in from where I see, enforcement is the only thing.
Oh, I don't know. I have a totally different view. An opposite view, in fact.
Okay, which is that people wake up one day and they realize that, you know, they realize that, oh, maybe we shouldn't do it like that.
No. I mean, it's like, you know, when I'm thinking of attacking a problem, I'm mostly not found in that problem anymore after dwelling upon it for a really long period of time. I'm not in that problem, I have moved to another problem, which turns out to be the fundamental of the very problem which is being discussed. So,
okay.
So I think I'm pro-freedom, like too much, so much that I've been written off to be an idealist.
Okay.
Beyond any sense of practicality, but it's turning out that that's not true. Those who said so may be wrong. That's what it's.
So okay, let's take this problem. Okay, let's take this problem of air pollution.
Okay.
All right. And so like freedom.
Let's not take the problem of just air pollution. Let's take the problem of human mind.
No, but we'll take one example where
air pollution.
Yeah.
Let's say air
where you
pollution.
can put your concepts in, and so like everyone will be able to understand it that way.
Right. So, I mean, okay, we can, if time be a barrier, then sure, we need some people who are attacking the exact problem directly. And while there will be some people who will be attacking that exact problem directly, there should be some people who must not attack that problem directly, but look at the fundamentals that brought us to that place in the first place.
I got that, yeah.
So there was a time in 2010-11 when I learned that I wanted to build a communication company, and I already started with investment in a great team before anything in the name of startups in India. And then came a time when I did not find enough intrinsic motivation to just keep telling myself that I wanted to be the greatest communication company in the world one day because I have found a novelty. Whatever that novelty was, I do not even talk about it. While it was good enough to have given me an Indian equivalent of $100,000 and a star-studded team, it wasn't good enough.
So wait, let's go back to the problem of air pollution.
Yeah.
And then how do you apply that? Let's say your understanding. Like obviously I get it, like that there's an intrinsic like barrier in people's understanding of
and
things.
That is all I know. So
yeah, okay.
Whether you talk about air pollution, or you talk about crime, or you talk about corruption, my answer or anyone else's answer who wants to be fundamental would be the exact same no matter what you throw at him. Whether you talk to me about air pollution right now, or you talk to me about corruption, or you talk to me about education, my answer is still going to be the same.
No, I get that, but what I'm trying to get at is I'm trying to understand your method of fixing it.
Which you will only understand when you talk lesser than I do. Because you're asking me the question, allow me to speak at a stretch as I allowed you to speak.
Okay,
only then will you understand.
So let's take a specimen and then you come at it from your point of view.
Which is what I would do, if you allow me to speak.
Okay, go ahead. No, I was just trying to, because it was just going towards a trajectory and just wanted
which you don't understand yet, but you'll understand that trajectory if I'm allowed to complete what I'm saying.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is we take a hypothetical situation.
No, we don't take a hypothetical situation. Why do we take a hypothetical situation when we have a real situation which is being worked on by me, which is not a hypothetical situation anymore. It is the situation which I got to by exploring all these problems that you are talking about.
Okay.
And to attack all these problems, I am proposing a solution.
Okay, go ahead.
And that solution is so far-fetched that it needs a lot of patience when being spoken about,
All right, so let's
go
for
a lot of patience, a lot of patience. So be patient, my friend, and hear what I have to say about how, I'm not saying that's the absolute solution to the problem of, let's say, air or anything I'm saying, but it is the solution to the very problem that has brought us here. And that is why it is far-fetched, because it is touching the fundamental. Now our question is, what is that fundamental?
Yeah. What is that problem that you're saying that?
The problem is the problem of lack of freedom. That is the problem. And how that problem of lack of freedom can be touched upon is, well, first let's not get at the lack of freedom, because I wasn't born with an understanding of that there's this problem. I looked at all these state of affairs, which led us to an environment where we are talking about sitting here and discussing air pollution. I got here because I had an idea about, and when I say communication here in this dialogue, it has a significance. And only when I connect this communication to that dot, which connects you back to the problem of air or anything, it's the mindset I'm trying to come to. How did I get to that? Was from all this material way of looking at life, and then understanding, oh, my neighbor has thrown garbage outside. What can I do? I can go pick it up and put it into the dustbin. And then I can hope that my neighbors will follow the lead. And then one day I will die and the society will still not be touched. Then that's not the solution for me.
Yeah, got it.
If that was, then maybe candlelight marches in India Gate would have been solutions too. None of that is a solution. Maybe there are people who are solving those problems in ways that I don't understand, and I don't want to comment on those solutions. I realized that the solution I was directing myself towards at that time unknowingly was something within the realm of communication. And now I'll tell you why I think it is rooted in communication. But what is rooted in communication? This is rooted in communication. But what was rooted in communication that I picked communication as the challenge that I wanted to work towards? That is what I'm trying to address now. And then you will connect why, how air pollution and how everything else.
All right. So we're saying that communication lies at the base of this.
Yes, and
this
the base
paradigm
yes.
that people are not able to understand, that would solve at large
yes.
many global scale and pan-India level problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how did I get to communication at the base of it? I got to communication at the base of it because at some point when I was dabbling over, after my first company going down, when I was dabbling over what next, I was looking at what are the greatest problems that surround the world. And of course environment was one of the highlighting pick that I had, which I dabbled over for months. But at the same time I had an experience of leading a team from the top college in our country, IIT Delhi. And then I also looked at what is four-world education rendering in our society, and how that is responsible for a lot of what we are and who we are. And when I started connecting all these things, for a moment I thought, okay, it was education that I was after. Maybe the problem lies right here. Well, to many, education is actually at the root of it all. But there's something else which is at the root of why education needs to be touched upon in the way I'm proposing. And that problem is lack of freedom. What is the connection of lack of freedom with communication is what I would like to throw light upon right now. And what does it have to do with education? And what does education have to, that kind of education which creates greater freedom, what does that have to do with the mindset which has brought us to the problem of the air and everything else?
In the first place.
In the first place.
Okay.
So, in my view, we are giving birth to children, putting them within the safety of four walls, and trying to tell them what is life from within the safety of four walls, whether it is your home, or it is your classroom, or it is some professor professing some shit that you don't even take inspiration in. And in the process you are being taught how to not allow the flow of your spirit to even exist, because there is no flow of spirit there. You are just made to sit in a classroom and you are made to study that which maybe you are not keen on, you are not even receiving it well. And then you understand that you are doing it all for the goal of employment and your bread and butter. The actual problems then don't even exist as matter of work, as matters that require work by this educated folks to make this world a better place. So we can keep thinking that some of us will come out there from within these systems and somehow magically the world will become a better place, right? Yeah. So what needs to be done is that we need to recognize that when you create an environment fundamentally where you allow children to live a life of chasing their curiosities, you allow them the freedom to identify for themselves what is working for them and what is not working for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have not allowed children to be that yet, because somehow you think that knowledge doesn't matter, education perhaps also doesn't matter. What matters is education degrees, because that makes you employable. And that is on a premise that it is the employer at the end of the table, on the other side of the table, is looking for that degree to identify you, or to understand what is that you may be able to serve towards his goal. So of course that makes sense. Economically, they would require exactly that kind of system to give them that human who is able to fit into the machinery they are creating. And this is on an assumption that the only way they can do this is by putting children in four walls, and they write their exams from within those four walls, out of the archaic courses and curriculums and books and system and people, and then somehow they will give them marks and they will get quantified and certified, and now they're fit for a job. This needs to be attacked fundamentally. By that I mean that first we need to tell the world that education is not equal to knowledge. Education degrees also is not equal to education. Then what is this crap? We need to also tell the world at the same time that they need to answer this question, whether the question is there any knowledge captured in the process of two people communicating with each other over a common goal for years together, regardless of the result? If the question's answer is yes, there is knowledge captured in the process of two people chasing a common goal. Now, if there is knowledge in the process of two people chasing a common goal, then how difficult is it to quantify that into the kind of degrees that correspond to the current system? My question is, how difficult is it to quantify in the world of digital text and digital voice, in the world of artificial intelligence, how difficult is it to quantify dialoguing into degrees? Not only that, how difficult is it to create a system where communication can seamlessly be translated into actionables, because you're chasing a common goal. It's not just talk for talk's sake, you know.
Yeah.
You're chasing a common goal. So how difficult is it to translate the sea of chats into maybe a tenth of the sea of chats be translated into action? How difficult is it to mark what are actionables? Because you were talking to act.
Yeah.
So how difficult is it to mark what are your actionables in the first place in the sea of chat? It's as difficult or easy as touching those sentences that were exchanged.
But don't you think...
Allow me to complete. Yeah. Now, when you give a software guy like me the metric of two people having a dialogue over a common goal, and within that, the metric of what were the tasks they are doing in the process of this chat, you are telling a software guy like me that there is a possibility that if I have just the natural language processed to give me education degrees out of the natural language two people spoke, as against degrees coming out of natural language spoken among two people, plus the understanding of what is the knowledge earned by the person who finished the tasks alongside. Because when you say you finished a task, you're also revealing that you must have learned something to have finished the task. If we were to start a restaurant, something as simple as a restaurant, I'm talking about freedom still while I'm talking about this. So keep your eyes and mind on freedom and see how this connects to freedom. If you and I were to start a restaurant and you were to be the chef, and in the sea of chats we were trying to position a restaurant and mapping it to some kind of South Indian 5 dishes from South India, and all those 5 dishes were to be made by you, and we had a team of 20 people who, when you said task done of these 5 dishes which were communicated to you through chat, you are able to tell me, and because of my team also validates it, you are able to indicate that now you know how to make a dosa. Now when you are saying task done, you are also saying you know how to make a dosa. You do this 100 times, about 100 dishes, you are almost a chef. There goes your degree. That's your degree. So when you quantify education...
Yeah, but quantify, let me take that same dosa example. If there's a guy who is making a dosa, right? But there's a huge variance, a huge spectrum on dosas, where somebody would be making a dosa to what level of satisfaction, firstly. And the thing that you were telling about, that knowledge is gained through two people talking about the same thing over time. But in that, it is also one thing that I think would be more critical would be, what is the inference that has been increased over time? Like point 1, they're talking about it from a certain perspective.
Right.
The resolution is very low.
Right.
If at point 2, they're still talking about the same subject at the similar resolution, then that would not quantify as a degree, rather than somebody. I think it's much more, I think in physics, convenience is key. So whatever is convenient to a open system stays. Whatever is inconvenient gets phased out. And that's what we have seen in biology all along.
That is why I think restriction to society or in society is not the way to society.
So
that's
we're getting a new democratic view of education now.
We are actually taking a democratic view of not just education, of policies, of everything. Like, what is at the fundamental of everything that sounds like a policy or a rule? That the world, even in form of a particle, wave, is going to head towards its freedom. You cannot stop that from happening. That's the movement.
The complexity is going to increase from the same energy. The systems are going to get much and much complex.
Which is mapped back to your evolution. So you are moving from this particular vibration to vibration forward by virtue of all the knowledge you are earning for having been subjected to your prior complexities.
Wait, which vibration? I'm sorry.
Like the frequency. I mean, basically, like the frequency that I am and the frequency that you are and everyone else is a factor of your knowledge, of your experiences. That is giving you that vibe. You know, you like someone's vibe, you don't like someone's vibe. What is vibe here? Okay. Vibe gets altered.
So you're talking about vibe as a frequency?
Yes, vibe is a frequency because of vibration. Vibration will have a frequency.
Isn't it used as a layman term mostly?
That's their problem. They are layman. You know, that's their problem. Like, but what it means
how
is...
How we vibing, like...
they say it, but that's what, like, I feel people say too much without knowing. If they say vibe by knowing why are they saying vibe, what does vibe even imply? It means it implies vibration. What is vibe?
So many people are using, let's say, okay, fine. All right. So you're saying that we can quantify this frequency of a person?
We'll get to that. I'm not saying we can quantify the frequency of the person just yet.
Okay.
But I would not shy away from saying that if I keep going on. If we don't have lack of time today, but I know. So we will finish it all the way to quantification of the vibe of a human. How do we get there? I can go all into expressing that. But right now, to express freedom and how freedom is at the root of all those problems and how that freedom can be imparted by what I'm saying should be the education system. Okay. But right now, I'll just cover that. So in that, it's like, you know, when we spoke about the dosa example and the restaurant example, I'm saying that just imagine this. Now forget about artificial intelligence. Forget about any software or any system. Just look at the word intelligence, just intelligence. Let's not put the prefix artificial to it right now because artificial intelligence is also dumb right now. Actually, it will remain so. For that, I'll have to touch the topic of vacuum. What I think is vacuum as against part 2.
No, that's fine.
We'll not go into that. So we'll just use the word intelligence for now because if I have to justify what is artificial intelligence, then I want to touch that topic. And how is it not as intelligent? So intelligent that I could have used artificial intelligence to convey what I'm saying about two people chasing a common goal, having conversations and actionables around that goal, fetching knowledge in the process, and that knowledge be quantified. How can this be done to precision? An insight into that could be that when I'm interviewing people to onboard them, I'm actually literally not even interviewing them. I'm in conversations with them. I'm looking at them. I'm feeling them. Mm-hmm. I am actually partying with them. I'm moving around playing sports with them, and I am having conversations about all kinds of things with them, and I make my decision on that. And in those conversations, I'm asking them while being very careful about my observations about them while they're giving those answers, all the way to understanding whether there's truth in those answers or not, you know? So if a human being can decipher without looking at resume that this guy can serve the job I have opened for this person.
I think you hit a very critical point there because nowadays companies focus so much on culture and culture is important because I'm a huge proponent of culture.
Right.
So if there is no culture there and you have all the smart heads in there, it's still not going to work out.
Yes.
So you need that basic foundation of culture because as humans we have grown inside cultures.
Yes.
We are a part of culture and our entire emotional inference of a physical world comes through culture.
Yes.
That is what maintains a culture.
Yes.
So I think what you're saying is exactly what happens in I think very good companies that they take into consideration how the person is. So instead they invite the people to their house, they go out for walks and they try and like, figure out what kind of a person it is apart from the resume that they have.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I absolutely see full credibility in that, in doing that.
Right.
Because it is very important about what kind of person you're hiring than just like the resume. So yeah.
So what happens when you encourage children to continue to chase their curiosity, regardless of the result, because the least of that result is knowledge. Whatever, maybe I'm not talking about absolute knowledge. I'm just talking about, okay, the journey to knowledge. Let's say not absolute knowledge may be perceived as, okay, am I saying absolute knowledge? What do I mean by knowledge? I'm just saying journeying into knowledge as against journeying into education. That's what I'm trying to point at.
Yeah.
So when you create the world where you allow the child to journey into knowledge, knowing that failure and success is not even a part that will measure whether this person learned anything or not. Maybe substantiality of the lessons will come at result. But who is looking at excellence and perfection every single time? People can do with people journeying into actual knowledge, and then getting somewhere along the way. And when you put intelligence into the system that is to infer what is this that this individual is learning out of chasing a goal that he has with a couple of other people. When you infer that, you give freedom to people to just have their mobile phones in their hand, be curious, be by the waterfall, go and spend time in the morning and immerse yourself in that morning without being told that you have a class to attend. Because only when you can immerse yourself with freedom will you get there to that point of focus. Then you can actually just maybe sometimes we never get that opportunity to sit by under a tree and lose ourselves to the sound of the bird for as long as there is sound of the bird. And sometimes you would not realize you sat down under a tree in the morning and it's afternoon already.
Yeah.
And in the process, sometimes you realize, wow, where was the sound from? Where was I while the sound was happening?
Yeah.
You don't have moments like this. And then we feel we are here, this body, and we never understand what is this. Is this a receiver? Or is this the machine that analyzes? This is just a receiver. The analytics of it, it's just receiving the analysis that's going on. When you start understanding all that, then that's deeper. You get
when it comes to spirituality, I guess.
Yeah.
That whole understanding of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And whether you exist or you don't exist also comes into that, like, what is consciousness? Basically, are you looking or are you the mirror? That whole game.
Or are you looking or are you the mirror? Or there is observation, but maybe there is no observer. Kind of moments is what I'm talking about. That you have an observation, but there was no observer. The observation itself was an observer. Is the understanding you end up establishing. But these are higher points. I don't think. I was trying to get to that in this dialogue.
That's fine.
But
right.
Because that is a totally different
See, this is the journey.
tangent.
This is the journey of conversations. It just brings you to places where people relate.
You know how I wish, man, I didn't have to leave at. These are moments I wait for. But I have to leave at 5:15, and that's why I'm thinking that I won't touch this topic yet, because then I will dive so deep in it that I would not want to stop. So I will avoid the...
Okay, can I ask you a very interesting question?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you were a headmaster of a school, because I think we both had similar school experiences, because these are the kind of thoughts I had when I was in school myself.
Right.
And then there was this huge shift when I went to Dehradun, and it was banked in nature, and I could just get done with school and I would just sit and talk to trees and just write poetry. I know this sounds crazy.
No, it doesn't.
But that was my experience. I just used to chill under a tree and just write and just feel free and look up at the sky, and it used to be open and the winds used to rush in, the birds used to be around. That whole immersion into nature, that is what I picked up when I was in Dehradun. And then later on I realized there's scientific benefits of being in nature. It actually releases de-stressors in your body, and it brings down inflammation. It brings you back to a better mental state. There are a lot of biological factors that change in your body when you're immersed in nature, because that is where we're from.
Right.
Like, the city is just a caravan, but you actually come home when you go back into wilderness. But that being apart, if you were a headmaster,
Right.
what are the top 10 things you would do when you were building a school? This is going to be very interesting, I feel.
The top 10 things, huh?
But you'll have to speak into the mic. That's the condition.
Okay, I'll speak into the mic. The mic, I wish.
Was a little higher.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But never mind. I'll be like this now. If I was a headmaster, I'll attend to this question in 2 minutes. I'm nearly at the end of telling you how, if there's one problem, we can all collectively try to solve. It is not environment. It is the problem of freedom to us, and the freedom to us can be delivered through a software. The software that the first version of which I've already built. I'm confident that the problem I'm trying to attack here is freedom. It would start with education, but then it'll also touch preventive healthcare, and it wouldn't need any medicines or anything. It is just about, now again, fundamental breathing. And how do you tell the other person that how do you need to breathe if you want to be a visionary? It can touch those kind of questions. How do you need to breathe when you want to be an entrepreneur or a politician or a doctor? I am only scratching the surface, but I am scratching the surface because there is no, and for a long period of time, I think I'll just be on the surface because there is no content to dig this. This is the first time I think such an inquiry is being made, and I'm subjecting myself to this inquiry. And if I can solve it through the inquiries that I'm doing and rendering it into my software, then maybe 50 years down, we will not have to worry about teaching people to take care of their garbage and take care of pollutants they're putting in the air. That's not something we'll have to even deal with. So
it's like this paradigm shift that just changes the understanding of reality
of yourself, of your relationship with nature and everyone, and all it takes is a state of harmony. So when you say that happens to the body when you are in nature, that's a byproduct of actually what is happening to your spirit. What's happening to your spirit? It is becoming effortless. What do I mean by spirit becoming effortless? I mean that it is becoming a function of, it's dancing to the tune of the Brahmand as is. It's not fighting it anymore. So it's becoming effortless. This is harmony.
Yeah, you're flowing with it.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Yeah. So if people can be allowed to be harmonious, whatever it is that they want to be harmonious to, it's like if Messi is playing football like that, he's an intelligent man, whether he was educated or not. Same is true for Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah.
And how is that happening? That is happening because to get to Shunya, you from 10,000 thoughts you have to get to one something. One is oneness of that football.
Yeah.
You are more likely to take that leap to Shunya than many other people who could not get into that oneness, into that state of concentration, And when you are in that state for a long period of time, then you are not there. You are the function of the ball. It's like a dancer dancing to music. But it's sometimes, that's beautiful dance when it's effortless.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say. So through this, I want to give...
It's right here. So just...
Here?
Yeah, this is perfect.
Perfect.
So it's right here. It's facing you.
Okay, fair enough. So we need to just work on putting people into harmony. That's all.
So for people watching, let's say there's a person who is 18 years old, just got out of school, and what would be the top 10 codified things or top 10 actionables you would ask them to do?
Beautiful question.
Like codified things.
Yeah. Okay. I think the first one would be that I teach them a lesson of timelessness. I would tell them, don't be in a hurry. I would really try to tell them that about the contrary view to time in a day. That's the first lesson I would try to tell them, so that they could not be in a hurry and just really give their best to whatever it is that they're exploring. Like an example of this is that if I am in class 9 studying light, or let's say gravity, and I got so interested in that topic that I want to go all into the black hole, I'm not going to want to wait till class 12th to touch that topic, but they're going to make me shut down that chapter the moment that page gets over, and then I have to go into another topic of physics while I am dealing with gravity. So this is criminal to me. You are
So you're
making
saying they should take their time with things.
absolutely
Okay. So
absolutely.
that's one.
Number one.
Yeah.
Then number two would be, I would tell them about. I will probably not tell them this. I would put them. I would put them out in the field to play football, to play anything they like, to swim in water. I would put them in environments of great sound. I would encourage them, or I wouldn't encourage them also. I know they will automatically start moving to music. If one person there starts moving, they all will be like happy, jumping, moving. And so long as they want to move, I wouldn't want to stop them. Ki aao beta khana kha lo. I'm not going to
So
tell
you're
them to eat
saying
food.
that they should have copious amount with physical experiences.
So the second one was, let's say we can call that second one good health.
Okay.
Good health. And for good health, I think you cannot tell them that children, you have to breathe from the deepest. You have to exhale from there. You can't teach them that. But what you can do is you can make them run, and when they pant, that's exactly what's happening. And when that is happening, the whole energy is moving through the bottom to the top. Otherwise, if you're lousy, then you're not even taking your energy all the way there.
Yeah.
That's what I'll try to teach them.
All right.
That's why I'll put them into sports. I will make them run. I would try to put them into athletics. See, I'm not even going to classrooms and books yet in my second also. And third also. I'm saying third is sound.
Yeah.
I will put them in environments of great sound. In my classroom, there would be good mantra playing. And it will be the backdrop of the
What if
classroom.
somebody likes rock?
That is mantra for me. Yeah. You know what is mantra? Mantra is, let's say, I don't know how to define it, but when I say that, I mean, just something that you can tune to. Something that you can tune to. That's all I'm saying. So, rock, hip hop, Bollywood, anything, man, anything that puts you off yourself and tunes you into something else while you are tired of sport or any activity.
Yeah.
Because you can just close your eyes and smile to music. That's why music needs to be spoken about in classrooms right when a child is a child.
Okay.
Maybe that's the third one. Maybe the fourth one, it may be complicated, but the fourth one, I have never tried this with a child. I would like to maybe attempt an experiment and put an effort for this to happen. Meditation. Meditation upon their breath. Everything else is also meditation that we are talking about right now, sports, football, this, that. It's all meditation upon that object. I would like to get them to the meditation upon their breath, because I think when they are in meditation upon their breath starts shortening, because the processing of all other movement of the muscle that requires combustion for energy, and combustion calls for more oxygen, all of that requirement starts reducing. And when that requirement intrinsically is not there, then you know that your processing, it's not there because your processing is stopping. And now your breath is not so much of breath is required anymore. Now, when you do not require so much of breath, and now if it is progressing in that direction, then there can be an opportunity for you to have no breath and have a period of time when there is no breath in you. And that could be just outside of the body realm.
Isn't that dangerous for kids?
I don't think anything that looks like.
But
freedom
yeah,
to me is
meditation
dangerous.
is definitely a big thing. I would double with you on that, because that is the thing that taught me to separate myself from my thoughts and realize that both me, my existence, and my thoughts aren't the same. Thoughts just come and go. It's just like traveling through my mind, but that is not me.
Right.
I can choose to just see them as a passing wave and not indulge with them, with each and every one of them, thinking that it's my thought, or it's that it is me. So that is what it taught me, and I think it helped me a lot with that. So yeah, double down on meditation. I would definitely give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Next,
I think the fifth one should be. Maybe encouraging them to be curious. Addressing all their what's, how's, and why's. Not shying away from that opportunity of telling a kid when a question is asked. Not shutting him down. That's the fifth thing that my school will. My teacher, there will be no teachers, there will be facilitators. So this school will not have teachers, it will have the internet and the facilitators. And I would make sure that if there is any child that comes back to me, if I was a headmaster, that I asked this question and the teacher scolded me for it, the teacher would be out without a question. So I cannot encourage that anymore.
Do you know something like this was built by Elon Musk because he used to send his kids to a school,
right?
And then he was like, it's just ruined, it's just a waste of their time. So he built a own school and he sent them there.
Right.
He built his it's like, what you're talking about, the kids would go and just inquire whatever they wanted to.
Right.
They could go and choose to learn about something, and they could just ask people and they would help them along the journey, and they would just take them from there.
Right.
So it was a very relaxed sort of a learning space, with a lot of nature in it. So yeah, what you're saying is, I think you should go visit that place, man. It's pretty dope.
I'd love to.
Yeah,
I'd love to. But I'm here in India, and I think, everyone is going there. Someone needs to be here, and someone needs to hold on to their whim, however difficult it is to pull it off in India, and do it here. Who else will do it in India if everyone keeps going there?
No, I'm not asking you to go there. I'm just like,
when you go,
check it out.
Sure. I sorry, I didn't get you then. Yeah, that I would like to do maybe. That was the fifth. Maybe the sixth would be.
Now the rest four, let's make it about what can the kid do himself, him, if they're listening and they're young, and what could they choose to avoid 10 years of pain, let's say, in their life that is going to come because of the ignorance, or rather the lack of that perspective or that paradigm where they could be the drivers of their own life. So
yeah, cool. I think when you create an environment where you make sure all hows, what's, and whys are answered, then you're really creating an environment that is opening up to the possibility of opening the child to asking even more difficult questions, expressing all that the kid is going through in form of a question. Or let's say now the sixth thing hence could be, with hows, whys, and what being answered as a protocol, conversations, curating conversations among children, just sort of planting that seed and allowing them to have conversations with each other. Maybe then you're giving the kid the freedom to spend a long period of time in this school having conversations. Maybe that's what I would do. Yeah.
So I would also add to that, which is when I was a kid, so I lagged, I felt left out. I wasn't a brute. I wasn't messing with children. And one good thing that my parents did for me was they used to get me books.
Beautiful.
Whatever, I used to run out of them. I used to go to them. They used to get me more books. And even when my friends used to come for my birthday, my parents had told everyone, just buy books. Don't buy anything else. Just buy books and gift that.
Right.
And so I ended up having a huge library from a very young age. And I used to keep reading these. Started with stories, and I was absolutely mesmerized. The first time I cried after reading a book, I was like, I know this is the first time I realized this is a book. I just read it. I know it's a book. This is a story. Why am I crying? That shock when you're in class 4th, that whole shock is you're trying to absorb it. You know this is a story, but why are you crying? You read it on a piece of paper. Why are you crying? Yeah. So that is when I understood the power of story. And then right after I read The Godfather, and I was like, dude, this is life. And then so I read a lot of novels, and then what I realized is I have questions that are unanswered, because literature always had good lessons. But what if I'm specific about something and I really want to learn about that?
Right.
So that is when I started buying books for those specific purposes, written by people long ago who weren't even there now. Like reading Emerson, or reading Walt Whitman, or reading Robert Frost, just to understand life through their perspective. Going into that, and then self-help also took off. So I was reading other people too, and then I was like, okay, cool. Even though I don't have a mentor right now, I could learn from that, and those were conversations for me. And imagine you absorbing so many conversations from people from all timelines, and then you start imbibing in yourself a new kind of a person that you haven't felt before, and you coming back to yourself and being like, okay, you are a person that I am, but I haven't been in touch with you for a very long time, and now I'm back. And it felt so good, that unison of that. Is why I think those conversations, as well as reading,
this can be the 7th point then, reading for sure, and like give them the freedom to have whatever books they like,
whatever from Mills and Boone.
whatever books they like, of course.
Did you read Mills and Boons in school?
No, I didn't actually.
I was in a hostel.
I think that's why I'm so. If I read Mills and Boons, I would be probably a little more romantic, I guess.
So I read Mills and Boons when I was in a hostel. I did not know a thing like that existed. Okay. Somebody got it from their hometown. The first page was ripped off, the cover, and there was just a book lying there, and everyone was reading it. I was like, why is it such a hot book? Why is every dorm reading that book and it's getting passed to them? So I waited till that book reached my dorm. Then everyone got done, and I was like, okay, what is it? Started reading, and I was like, damn. Is this real? Oh my god.
Yeah,
man.
is it?
Like,
was it that?
It was the characters are so, you would not believe this, but the characters are so well developed that it would be like, this is a real human being, and they show humanness in that, related to sexuality, that this is such a human thing, and that changed my perspective.
Then this book should be there.
Yeah. That was beautiful,
Right.
I think really good writers write Mills and Boons, like,
wow.
hands down.
Yeah, I wonder why it wasn't in schools. Like, these are things children. Why not? I mean, what's the problem in telling
Because
them this?
people read it anyways in 11th and 12th.
Oh yeah, I never did though. But yeah.
So
sure.
did you? I saw your social media. So you were in a mountain somewhere under a waterfall. So were you in like that? Oh, you were in Dehradun, right? You told me about that.
Briefly, yeah. But I was moving around in Garhwal a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
sweet! I love that place.
Yeah.
How was your experience in Uttarakhand, Garhwal, Uttarkashi?
Oh, incredible. Yeah, I think it was.
Let's start with the roadways.
Okay, let's start with the roadways.
The scariest bus ride of my life.
Oh yeah, man! Because I was sent to a boarding school for my class 11th and 12th, and Kathgodam was my train stop.
Yeah.
And then I would board a bus from there to Ranikhet.
Alright.
And
were you in Birla?
I was in Birla.
Oh!
Oh wow, you know it? Okay,
Yeah,
killer. So I used to be in that bus, and actually every single time it was a bit scary, because it was roadways, buses are such, and they are such confident drivers, but you don't know that they are experts.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes you have traveled into your schools with your father driving. So okay, they're careful, and that's what one should drive like.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're in this large bus, and the bus drivers are driving it, and two buses are just crossing each other without putting a brake in opposite directions. It was scary, but once I entered the school and I got exposed to the mountains, and it was very different from a city life. My love for the mountains was not fully developed, or it was the beginning maybe. Then I came to Delhi, but then of course the realizations, and then I was like, we can't do these conversations the kind I like here in these cities. I have to go back.
Yeah.
And into isolation.
Yeah.
So I had already been in Kumaon, Ranikhet, Nainital area. Then I thought, let's do Garhwal. And then I went to Rishikesh, and then I loved it. And then I went to Rishikesh a couple of times, and then I got settled there, and then I started moving in Garhwal region. My favorite place, which was not now roadways anymore. I had a motorcycle. I went to Tunganath, and Tunganath and Chandrashila. Wow, if you Google Tungnath in Chandrashila, you will know what.
Okay, tell me about Tungnath. I haven't heard of it.
Okay.
But I've been to Uttarkashi.
Okay.
So I've been around there, but tell me about Tungnath.
Well, Tungnath is the highest Shiv temple in the world. It's like one of those 5, Badrinath, Kedarnath, and so on and so forth. Tungnath is one of them.
All right.
When I went there, I didn't know. I was going there. It was just a ride on top. And then we reached this place called Chopta. And Chopta, I was riding, and my girlfriend was a pillion rider, and we were riding for 2 days from Rishikesh. It took us 2 days. It was almost a non-stop journey. And we, of course, for the night, we stayed along the way. And when we reached there, Chopta, we heard of Chopta plenty. So when we got to Chopta, they said it's a Switzerland of India and blah, blah, blah. And when I reached there, my God, it so was. And then they said, wait till you get to Tungnath. And how far is Tungnath? 2.5 hours from here. But you can't take your bike. You have to trek.
Walk it.
Yeah, 3 hours perhaps. And wow, that trek was just out of this world. The green meadows, the largest green meadows I've ever seen. And both sides, this is a path, and here large green meadows are at a great height. Like, it's mostly snow there, so really, really high. And that side, going down, large green meadows. And every maybe every 2 square inches of grass would have a colorful flower in it, a small flower. So you are literally, if you are walking on the grass, you're walking on flowers. It was literally like that. And I've got photos on my Facebook of Tungnath, and those are probably my most beautiful photographs. And I've got so many of them throughout Himalayas, wherever, Garhwal, however much I could cover. So, and then on top of it, Chandrashila. Chandrashila, I learned, was known for this is consequence. This is of context also because of the verdict. Ramji, it was Chandrashila was only popular because Ramji did a lot of tapasya over there, is what the story goes.
Okay.
And there was this point they took us to where Ramji sat and did all his tapasya.
Yeah.
And it was beyond Tungnath. So I went till there, but I had to come back to the internet. So I would keep coming back to Rishikesh, Mussoorie, Landor, and so I was there for about 10 days. But I would do these trips. I would take my bike for a week somewhere, come back, and settle back in Rishikesh or Mussoorie or Landor because I needed the internet for my business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, right now I need to map your life journey. So you were in school. What age did you go to your boarding school?
I was in class 11th, maybe 15.
Okay. And which school were you in?
Boarding was Raniket Birla School. Huh?
Yeah, I got that in Lucknow.
I was in modern school, Lucknow.
Modern school.
Yeah.
Okay. The one in Aligarh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So you moved from modern, then you went to Raniket. All right. And then how many years in Raniket?
I was made to move out of Lucknow. I never thought I wanted to move out of my school, but I was there for 2 years.
Best decision ever.
Yeah. That's how kind universe is. Sometimes you think that, oh, the world is. I was expelled from school, so on that day when I was expelled from school, the world fell apart for me, and I was only 15 or 14, 15 maybe.
Yeah.
So for a couple of days, those were the heaviest days of my childhood. Little did I know that this is why that happened.
All right.
Then it was a great thing that happened. Yeah.
So how was the experience in Raniket?
Well,
how did you change in Raniket?
Yeah, that's a very good question actually. Because I mean, I can clearly sort of, I know I can express it in tangibles. Here in Lucknow, I don't know of other schools, maybe I shouldn't comment on other schools, but in my school, there was absolutely zero culture of extracurricular or conversations. You just go to school classroom, you play sports, and then back to your home because your parents are waiting for lunch, and then there are tutors coming in. What bullshit! Like there was no community, But in a boarding school, all that changed. That was number one. Number two was so disciplined. I mean, it was you could not, with your parents you could have argued, but there with your headmasters, teachers, principal, you couldn't have argued. So that stretch of that stretch into discipline was just amazing. And then it was an all-boys school. So, growing up, teenager, man, girls were a distraction. But when I went to a all-boys school, that topic of distraction was over. Now what do? When you have so much energy, you channel it into things that the school offered. What did the school offer? Sports. I did play a lot of cricket here. I played till states, and I was very good at that sport. In fact, it was disheartening to have been moved into the mountain because there was not the same kind of cricket culture as it is in Lucknow.
Yeah.
So I did lose my cricket, but then it brought basketball into my life. And I played state senior basketball there. I played hockey, I played volleyball, I played handball. I played the kind of sports that I'd never even heard of. But everything, gymnastics and athletics, like there would be seasons, football season, 1-2 months football, then 1-2 month handball, 1-2 month volleyball, like 6 houses competing over that month. So it was every month some sports season was going on. And then when the sports season gets over, then you have extracurricular where there's stage performances, dramatics, anchoring. Not even that. I mean, regardless of that, just among inter-house competitions.
The competitions.
The competitions.
Did you have this these honor points for your house that if you did well, you brought points to your house?
Oh, we did not have points, but yeah, those who brought the trophies were appreciated and announced in front of the whole school, awarded, certified. So there were no point system.
Okay.
But winning mattered, and winning was rewarded. Yeah.
So in my school, this is how it changed. What was there was if you did something good, you got a point to your house. If you did something bad, you lost points for your house. Let's say you did good, okay? You played amazing football and you got your house points, right? And then somebody goes out there, does something bad, and you lose points because of that. So you get it. So it became a cohesive unit and everyone was trying to do it for the honor of the house. You know, that we have to win this. Like we don't have to lose points. So suddenly everyone became disciplined. Everyone was trying to make the bets. Everyone was trying to dress the best way possible because they're like, we are not going to let you win. Somebody like their rivalries, right? Even in schools. It's like we won't let that house win. Right? Not this time. So if you got points, you tried your best not to lose them. So it was amazing that whole experience and I think that whole vastness of the campus and the space where you could be by yourself and the whole library thing on Sunday was just amazing. I think that was brilliant, and the cold showers. I used to love it.
We didn't have any showers there, man. There was just one tap. One tap. It was so cold because there was no water. So the water supplied to the school was only through tankers. So you were allowed to only use limited supply of water.
Oh yeah, it's on a cliff. Sort of.
Running cliff. There was no water. So there would be one tap, and there would be hot water coming out of it, and you had to just go dip yourself into under that hot water coming. And if you're lucky, then maybe you'll get to use your soap and scrub properly. There would be queue there. You have to be senior to enjoy this. If you're a junior, then you'll be kicked out of it very soon. Then you'll just take a steel bucket and maybe fill it up, and that wouldn't contain so much water as a plastic bucket. And you have to do with that. So bathing was a wish there, man. It was too tight, bathing was too tight. And we had students, you wouldn't believe, who wouldn't bathe for like a month or two. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I can remember my friends who wouldn't change their socks for 2 months. And when they changed their socks, I saw it from my own eyes. I don't want to name the guy here because it's not recorded.
From your own nose.
Forget that. His skin was stuck to the sock.
What?
That happened.
Oh, crazy. Hostels are crazy. But they're good, man. Good.
It was awesome.
So then after hostel, what was your journey like?
After hostel, then it was like, there was no exposure to internet. And of course, to the culture also of outside of the school. It was just a school and that culture, which was very disciplined. Outside of the school now, I was in college now. Delhi was what I got exposed to. And that was my first steps towards freedom. And which meant that I was already questioning, and during my first year of college, the college system itself. I wasn't enjoying being in four walls. I think I was naturally not that person. So I was in college just forging friendships and conversations and exploring what was Delhi, and the different people from different cities would come to that college while not being watched by teachers constantly. So there was everything, that Delhi offers. I got exposed to that, and I think that worked beautifully on me. It gave me the insight into what it is to not be constantly watched by your parents and teachers and all that, and it meant that I could go back home at any time I wanted. I could go to college at any time I wanted. I didn't know I was going to drop out, but I did drop out. So I was already not in that, realm of attending classes, right from, which was the most beautiful thing that I did.
Yeah.
That I wasn't governed by classes and classrooms. I have time. I'll leave here by 5:15. I have to be home. So, then in Delhi, I also sort of, I started enjoying going to clubs. I partied so much, and I think those were moments of conversations with not just people from my college, but people from all over the world in those parties, and that gave me a global exposure of sorts. And there were good conversations even at that time, and they kind of, I think they do something beautiful. They did beautiful to me, I guess. To everyone it would be the same. They just made me a more confident person, or maybe a person who was liked. School was tight for me, not boarding, but I was suspended in class 9. Then I was finally expelled permanently from school. I wasn't allowed to even be found outside the gate of the school. We can dig the topic of why was I expelled later, but it was sad that my energy could not be interpreted well by the school. But when I went to Delhi, my energy was appreciated. It was loved, in fact. So that was beautiful. I fell in love with Delhi and all that was around me. And the greatest thing that I think I was waiting for, I didn't know existed, was internet. That happened. And when internet happened, it happened with a couple of really beautiful platforms: Google, Hi5, Orkut, Friendster, MySpace. And now I just didn't have friends from my college. I had friends from all over the world because of these platforms.
Yeah.
That gave me another leap of exposure.
So that happened to you when you were in Delhi, and
Yes.
that happened to me when I was in hostel.
Oh.
So imagine, it happened to me when I could use it very less.
Okay.
It was like 1 hour in a week. And I was like, what the hell is this? So I joined Hi5. On Sundays, we could use our computers to write mails, but nobody was writing mails.
Okay.
Everyone was on Hi5,
Okay.
adding up friends and stuff like that. So yeah, we made Israeli friends and stuff like that, and everyone was common. All the friends were common. So that happened. Then Facebook came along, joined that. Then I found Orkut, joined that. It was fun. Yeah, I made friends that I eventually ended up meeting all over India.
Yeah.
Also, at the same point of time, there's this one friend of mine, Tanay. This guy is really cool. We used to be on calls, and he used to play like songs on his guitar, and he used to be like, guess. And he used to play Metallica really well. He's a really good guitarist. So now he's in Amsterdam. He's like, come over, man. And I surely, if you're seeing this, I'll come. I'll come to Amsterdam.
I'll come with him, Tanmay.
So it was really cool. That whole explosion of finding people with the same interest. So I was in every metal group there was to be.
Yeah.
And so I made friends there, and just digging on songs, like what is more like I could listen to. Because curation was done by groups, the communities.
Yeah.
So like, check this song out, check this song out, check this song out. At that point of time, I remember started listening to music on cassettes. I used to get Cannibal Corpse. I used to get Megadeth, Metallica, all of that. It was so cool. And I used to be putting that inside the cassette player in my Swift, and I used to drive crazy, and I was like, this is music.
And where were you again?
I was in Dehradun.
Okay.
After
What school in Dehradun?
I was in Serakwi.
Okay.
So it's the first international baccalaureate course.
Right.
So after 10,
Right.
I was like, नहीं मुझे IB करना है, IB ही करना है मुझे. I want to do IB no matter what. Because at that point of time, I saw those guys had laptops. I was like, nah, I want to do this course. So I joined it, but little did I know that the thing that I was expecting was far more than I could have ever imagined. So there was this subject called epistemology, theory of knowledge. So let's say that is the sun, right? You know that is the sun, but how do you know what you know? Let's say you know that this is a table. Okay, this is a very simple thing. Let's say you're driving.
I know exactly what you mean, because I often say, this is gravity, but how do you know this is gravity? I mean, what is telling you?
But let me give you an example. Okay, this was a perfect example where you can understand what epistemology is. Let's say you're in a cog and you're riding or you're navigating the cog in Amazon rainforest. Now, there's a person on the deck and she's looking at the river and it's sunset is happening and she's like, it's so scenic. There are logs in the river and she's like, oh, this is beautiful. Amazon rainforest is beautiful. At the same point of time, there is a person who is the captain of that cog and that captain is thinking, oh shit, the sun is going down. The pier is these many kilometers away, these many knots away. There are logs now drifting in the river, so I have to be aware of that. Visibility is going down, the winds are rushing, so I have to be aware of that. So at the same point of time, there are two people experiencing the same moment differently, right? So that is how they say, how do you know what you know? Like for a person, their inference of the same moment is different. For another person, the inference of the moment is absolutely different.
Yeah, that is why questioning, curiosity. I mean, you're told something and you believe it. That's not the way. That's not what I want in my school.
So we had these talks,
Right.
all right, TOK talks, theory of knowledge talks, and we used to sit in a group, and every week, 2 students had to decide on a topic, and they used to present their case.
Okay.
Then all the other groups used to discuss that case amongst them, and they used to verbalize their cases after that, and then it was open for rebuttal.
Right.
That was the most amazing thing I had experienced in the school. I was like, wow, I can rebut someone if I can call out to them, if I think that they are not having a proper gravity of the situation, and that I can put up better reasons forward.
Right.
I was like, this is happening in school?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I want to tell you something. Actually, I want to touch upon this. Is very important, and this is another layer of struggle that I wish I can remove from society, and that is that I'm so glad that this was happening in your school, because what is not happening in the society, which is one of a very important reason for people not really knowing the truth or the knowledge of literally anything. They're just sitting in belief. I may be also in belief. I'm not saying that I'm not a part of that world. So am I.
Yeah.
But there's something I'm becoming more and more aware of, is that I don't get off balance when I am attacked in a debate verbally, or when my thoughts and views are questioned. And I would like, because you need certain intensity to hold a debate, and that too if it is going profound.
Yeah.
What is happening with people is they get offended, and they get off balance, or they start raising their voice, or they stop having content and they start getting personal. That's terrible. I mean, if we can teach society that debate is extremely important, you need to have debates, you need to have counter views. In fact, I'll go on to say that if you want to get knowledge, and if you know that somebody on the other side has a viewpoint which is the exact same viewpoint as you, then hold the opposite viewpoint for the sake of stretching it and
opening it up.
It doesn't matter if he is judging you for having that other viewpoint, while know your view is the same. You are for the same party, you are for the same ideology, but you take the opposite position.
At least try that.
At least try that.
And because in school, when we used to go for debates, you were not given a choice. You were like, do this side of the argument,
right?
And you just had to do it. You had to find reasons to conduct that debate.
Right.
So yeah.
And it would be so beautiful if they'd ask you now, do it from that side of the argument.
Yeah.
That is the preparation.
Yeah. So there are two sides.
Yeah.
And you experience both the sides.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's absolutely legit.
So this can be the 8th point. I'm still keeping count on what could be in our school. Yeah.
This is the 8th point. This is absolutely important for me. What I've chosen going forward. There was this.
I don't know if in our 10 we'll ever cover books, copies, courses, curriculum. We haven't touched that, but I'll get to science and math. I will do it on the 10th.
Yeah. So for me, we're coming to that. So for me, what I realized was there were a lot of times through unknown influences that I ended up imbibing beliefs that weren't true empirically, right? And then I went back, and when I started reasoning, and this is the beautiful thing about Germans, they used to dial it down and open everything up. Like
I have a question there.
Let me take example of Nietzsche. That guy, that's like, I read that when I was in college, and I was like, it shook me. Like, you read those minds where it just like eviscerates the entire ground beneath your feet. So since then, I was like, okay, if something can be analyzed, can be dissected, can be studied, only those viewpoints. I started like, we when we started writing theses, bibliography and the importance of the source, like how good is your source. Only that you could enter in your bibliography. You couldn't just enter anything in your bibliography that, I take Business Insider as my source. That cannot be a legitimate source.
Yeah, you haven't dug it deep enough to actually...
Yeah, you need a good, brilliant source where you can be like, okay, this is the analysis of this situation. So since then, I started putting my faith into science, and I was like, this is something that is irrefutable. Many people study it, many people cross-question it, many people put intense amount of pressure on the theories divided, and if it's not true, then everyone celebrates the fact that it's not true, and then they go on to search for what is true, which is a discipline that I fell in love with. I was like, this is what you should do. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, so I can go find the truth. Don't let me sit in a belief where I keep on thinking it's true and I do not continue my search further. Like, it's better that you shred it. Try and break it apart that I can at least go towards the truth. Instead of just sitting in belief that this is and then like this is why people probably fight with other people because they're like, nay, this is my belief, I want to protect it.
Right. And also they fight because we haven't taught society how to debate. They just don't, they give up at some point, and they don't really do it as something that was taught methodically to them. That, just fragment things. Okay, good, I'm not questioning your belief, but here is mine. Let's debate it, man. Let's try to at least give me a chance. Give me a chance to question my belief if you don't want to question your belief. I think because you are so strong at your belief, I'm getting an opportunity here to have my belief be questioned. Let's get in a debate. The debate word is also like going. I don't hear it from people. They don't want to get into debates.
It's just
they start frowning, man. They like get angry. They frown, and I don't mind, but I know you're minding. That's why you're going off balance. Your muscles are moving in in an unpleasant way.
Because maybe they are not comfortable enough. This is where reading comes in, because when you're able to contain in your brain two competing thoughts for a long time and then question the legitimacy of each thought and let it fester till you finally come upon a decision that this is what I'll go with based on these and these references and based on these facts. That is when you make that decision that this is true, when you can hold two competing thoughts in your head, is when, because when you read, like, there were so many writers. The French writers used to write different than the German writers. The French had a better understanding of child behavior, but the Germans had a better understanding of psyche. So just keeping 5-6 thoughts in your head and trying to decide which is the one I go for and how.
It is
that journey of deciding how, like, how am I here? Like, that whole journey is so interesting that you can absolutely be comfortable holding 10 different thoughts in your head and questioning the legitimacy of each and every one of them.
Right. It is for this reason that I said timelessness was so important. Right in the beginning, I stated that one of the top 10 things, I want to tell children to be timeless so that they can hold maybe not 5 but 50 opposing thoughts.
Yeah.
And stay and sort of dig each one of them. And when you say that नहीं बस हो गया अभी तो कल एग्जाम है अब बंद करो इसे तो फिर क्या होगा कि such a child will not be able to complete the topics that he has to study for the exam because he wanted to go deep in one topic and now the exam paper is there and now there is a question that was asked and he wants to be a boss for that. He knows that answer so well and he wants to keep writing. Other questions will get missed. That should not be de-rewarded. That should not be, I mean, that's terrible. And I'm saying it because that used to happen to me. There are certain questions I really enjoyed and I would think at that time while I'm answering them, and I would just keep going. It's the same way I talk now. I can go on and connect probably after 2 hours something one felt, यार 5 मिनट में बोल दे मैं 2 घंटे के बाद connect करूँगा आपको दिक्कत है क्या? So this happens.
This was a problem with me. My friends used to be like, hey, like, अब तुम्हारी कहानी शुरू हो गई. Like, because I have to make you understand.
Yeah.
Because for me, from where the point I understood it from, only that is where you'll understand.
Yeah, and that is my answer. Sorry, I don't have a 5 minutes answer here because I'm not going to be on the surface about it. This is my topic. I'm going to go deep. You have a problem there. So that
I think people have a problem with having
absolutely.
that sort
and
of
that's why
absorption.
they're always on the surface. I don't. Such people are not going to go deep.
Does it remind you of Delhi?
It reminds me of 99.90% of whatever I have seen in life as humans. They're not patient and they're sorry I said that to you. You're not like that. But I came from that place. They're not patient listeners. They don't know that the art of the art of listening. That's what I want to put in this school. Yeah, that's the 9th. Yeah,
I would totally agree with that.
Nice.
You know what? At that point of time, I was just trying to see. So we are talking, we're going on and on about it. But if somebody is listening, they would need. I tell you what. I was like, okay, let's say I was taking a hypothetical situation. It's like it's like fast instinctual thinking as to if you were given a problem like right now there was a lake in this house. 5 people polluting it and you had to find and you couldn't touch them and you couldn't speak with them but you could instruct someone and you could what would be that instruction to get those 5 people to stop polluting something. So that is what I was trying to get at. That is why I was asking you because for someone to take something away like most people when they listen to conversations they're trying to collect points, trophies and try to take home with them so that they can apply it in their lives. So that's what was going in my head. Like, how can they apply this to their situation? So that's what I was trying to understand at that point of time. In the beginning. So that's what I was doing then.
Yeah, I got it. So actually, maybe for listening, stillness is required. People they're constantly wavering or it's not a problem really. That is why their people are different. They are on different frequencies. If they were all the same, they would have had the same faces, same color.
It would be so boring. Life would be so boring.
I mean, we would have same faces if we were all the same. Really, that's why we're all different. So it's not. But what every one of us can achieve is that stillness when being spoken to.
Meditation.
It will come from there only. There is no other way.
So we got to the 9th. We're just looking for let's look for the best.
The best. I started from I think the best. Now I'm going in and
down the ladder.
Ascending order. No, this is descending order. Sorry. And I was just going to say math, and I'm confused between ascending and descending. Math. Maybe my 10th would be because
hold abstractions.
Quantify them. To be able to reason with quantities and numbers. Because we are in a world which is capitalistic, you have to be able to put numbers and projections to things such as the world we are living in. If we move into another planet, maybe the equation will be something else. But here in this world, for you to succeed, you have to have that. I mean, you can succeed, okay, but even if you were to go in science,
Yeah.
And I think you go deeper and deeper, you will go to atoms, and
Yeah.
then you go to non-matter.
Yeah.
And then to really be, you don't have to really go in math to do this, or to have this understanding of life, or the origin of the universe, and how is it that we have come here from that point. But that is okay. But to perform at the highest, I am not saying, that's why this is my 10th point. I'm not saying I would say put this as a thumb rule. Maybe the first 9 that I said, for sure, 100% important, very important. But for the 10th one, I would be more flexible. I wouldn't give that as a rule.
I would go with logic. Like, how do you interfere in a situation?
But logic would be achieved in conversations. I mean, you would like to get settled somewhere in a conversation.
Yeah, but
and that
the
would be through logic.
complexity of the problem, when it increases, it makes
That's why math and science way of life.
Math, logic, problem solving, dry running problems on a whiteboard.
Right. Yeah.
Coding. You can learn how to code too. That would make it.
And I also say math because now the time of code is coming.
Yeah.
Now if you learn coding, you are better placed to function in the world at the top.
Yeah.
So that's why I say math. Because for algorithms and for the artificial intelligence to become really intelligent one day, I think math would be required.
Yeah.
You need to get that
understanding. It has to be pretty solid. Using of algorithms to laying algorithms on top of algorithms.
Even to crunch data, to analyze things, data. We are in a world where there's now so much data because we have had 30 years of social web now.
Yeah.
Now 30 years of entry into social way of web means 30 years of a billion people's data, almost a billion people, let's say, in this ballpark. That's too much of every day, every minute that data. Now all that when analyzed is just a powerhouse of information.
We have more bytes of data than the stars in observable universe now.
Yeah,
and it's growing.
Is it?
It's growing. It's going to balloon up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, man, it's insane. It's So with that, I think we'll end it.
Yeah.
And it was it was super chill, man. We should do more.
When then?
When you have more time.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think today is the end of lack of time.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. I think people, for them to digest this much, wait, let me see how long we went for. It's 1:26. 1 hour. So we did 1.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.